Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State and Fox News contributor, so glad to have you and all of your CIA experience, all of it, coming to bear with us this hour.
Thank you, Harris.
First, I want to start
Great to be with you this morning.
Thank you. What Jackie was just saying, because I think it's important. I understand that they can't tell us everything. You led the CIA, so you wouldn't want us to know everything anyway. It helps the enemy. But what do we need to know that you think we're not being told at this point from the administration?
Well, first of all, it took them too long to get on the front foot. The fact that we're in this place, the fact that deterrence against the Iranian regime, and Harris, we shouldn't make any mistake about it, this is the Iranian regime that is at war with Israel today. They lost the front foot, and we lost deterrence, and this is where we find ourselves today with Americans dead, eerily reminiscent of Afghanistan. We need to know that the administration, we need to know that this administration is serious. You know, you were saying they won't tell us about how many Americans there are. Harris, I remember the work and the reporting you did when they wouldn't tell us about how many Americans were trapped in Afghanistan, too, hoping that would just wander off the news cycle. This is fundamentally indecent what happened. This was barbarism. This was Iranian barbarism. They won't utter those words because it puts them in a place where they have to act. And the truth is the world needs to react. We need to take this on board in a way that recognizes that what is happening here is historic, that the fact that Hamas, the wholly owned subsidiary of Iran, has now killed not only thousands of Israelis, but dozens of Americans requires a United States serious response. And I think the president is right. He doesn't need to tell us what he's doing to get those Americans released. But he damn well better be getting every asset put in place, so we're prepared to do that alongside our Israeli partners.
Meanwhile, it has crept up to 25 dead Americans and U.S. nationals at this point. I remember a time when former President Trump said if Iran put its hands and killed one American, they would feel it mightily. A paraphrase there, his words much stronger than mine. We have 25. It is the response that is public, and there should be one strong enough to indicate that this president might feel the same way about the people who want to kill us, terrorists.
Harris, not at all. This is how we find ourselves in this place. American failed leadership. We did make very clear. I wrote about this in my books. I communicated directly with Qasem Soleimani, with the Ayatollah. We said, if you kill an American, if you touch an American, we're not going to come after your proxies, whether they be in Lebanon or Syria or Iraq or in the Gaza Strip. We're coming after you, the perpetrator of the crime against Americans. And this administration can't say that because they've underwritten this. They gave hundreds of millions of dollars to the Palestinian Authority, terrorists themselves. They gave billions of dollars in sanctions relief to the Iranians, allowing them to ship 4 million barrels a day of oil around the world and profit from that. Now, this administration failed in their Iran policy, and now they've got to figure out how to avoid what we know is coming next, a continued Iranian effort to undermine not only Israel, but the United States of America and the very Abraham Accords that had built out stability and peace in the region.
All right, a lot to get to with you today. I do want to get to what Jackie just reported, and we're thinking 16,000 Americans still on the ground in Israel. Can we, team, just scroll all the countries that are going in to get their own? We saw something similar to this when we vacated and abdicated all of our responsibility for lives on the ground in Afghanistan under this administration. When you see this, look at foreign governments mounting rescue efforts to Israel, Nigeria, Switzerland. Just look at all those countries. And in fact, I could talk for another minute or so, and it will continue to scroll. What in the world are we doing with our name not on that list? I don't need to know every detail of how they're going to do it. We have the best special forces in the world. I know how they're going to do it. What I want to know is, where are we on the scroll?
It's remarkable, Harris, the absence of the United States, not only getting our own folks home, but we've always been the one with the assets, the resources. You're right, the best special operators on the face of the planet. We've always been the one that helped other nations get their injured, their sick, their people back to their country as well. Look, this administration has underreacted to the moment. I'm glad they're providing armaments to Israel. That's fantastic. I credit them for that. But where were they on October 7th? Where were they in October of last year? They didn't invite Prime Minister Netanyahu to the White House, right? These are all symptomatic. This is symptomatic of a failed relationship with our partner and ally in the region. And make no mistake, the whole world's watching this. The Gulf Arab states could see we weren't partnering with Israel as closely as we did in the Trump administration, and so they began to hedge their bets. And what has happened today is the result of Iranian activity. It is they who should be held accountable. but the Biden administration's policies set the conditions and the context against that set the context for what's happening today.
I want us to hear from Americans on the ground, including a former Congresswoman from Texas, Maya Flores, now, about what it's like to be there and want to get home. I know the administration, and Jackie just reported this too, there's some Americans who don't want to come home. We heard that in Afghanistan too. But what about the thousands of people who do? Listen to this. Watch this.
First time I did it was in 2021 when I conducted the very first successful overland rescue of Americans. But here it is the second time doing the Biden administration's work because they have no plan, they have no strategy to get these Americans out who are trapped in these church groups that have been left behind. I hope that, them being home now or them actually getting out and to be in a safe space has given them confidence that Americans won't be left behind and that at least those of us who are elected officials will stand up when it's needed.
And if we have Maya Flores, let's roll it. Let's see what she's tweeted or X'd or whatever we're calling it these days. I am glad you made it home safe. This was a Twitter feed, an X feed, where she was talking with people who had not made it and were finally getting home from other countries, I might add. My family is currently abroad in Israel and was also told that there are no plans in place to evacuate United States citizens. So with fresh reporting today from Jackie, they're taking a look at the issue. Those families should be told before anybody, we are coming to get you.
This is pretty straightforward. I remember when we had tens of thousands of people stranded around the world during COVID. We moved heaven and earth to get them home. We did that every time and always. And this administration always underplays it. They always underreact. They're part of an understanding that is just about the absence of leadership and protecting the American people and our sovereignty. We've now got a land war in Europe, a land war in the Middle East. We've got thousands of people streaming across our southern border every day. The United States is more at risk today than it has been in an awfully long time. And in each case, it's a set of policies that delivered these outcomes. It did not have to be. We have agency here. We could have done so much better. And when I watch the horrific images come out of the Middle East, these babies that were killed, these grandmothers that were taken hostage, the United States needs to stay the course. It is going to be difficult in these coming weeks to watch what's happening both in Israel and the Gaza Strip. But we all need to remember October 7th for a long time. And we need to make sure that we not only wipe Hamas off the face of the earth, but we respond to the primary actor, the Iranian regime, that you shouldn't forget held hostages in 1979 for a bunch of days. And in the end, it took Ronald Reagan to get them home. We need that kind of leadership to make sure we get our Americans out of Israel, our Americans that are held hostage back to freedom, and we once again build out a stable and peaceful and prosperous Middle East.
Look, and what we showed you previously, it was representative from, I can't remember which state. I'm going to ask my team, Corey Mills. He was from Florida. He was talking about how he has gone in and brought 32 Americans home. When you have current sitting lawmakers, and of course, not just willing to go there, but able to get to 32 people, and you have at least 17, and he's not special forces on the ground with a geared kit. It is not only unacceptable, it is Afghanistan all over again. And remember, we were broken over that. We said it wouldn't happen again. Under this man's watch, it's happened twice. Secretary of State Antony Blinken just moments ago, Secretary Pompeo, met with survivors and victims of families of the Hamas massacre. Now, remember, he's on the ground today. He was at a donation center earlier this morning. He's in Tel Aviv. Here is part of an emotional exchange with Antony Blinken and families.
We are survivors from the music rave. We were lots of friends. Yes, we lost a lot of our friends, close friends, and lots of family members. There are a lot of people that we know that are kidnapped and now in Gaza. We went through horror, really. I'm 24. And I never imagined something like this would happen ever in a dance and a music festival. We celebrated love. And we danced, and it was amazing. And then the rockets started and gunshots everywhere. We managed to escape, but there are a lot of friends that didn't, and there are a lot of friends that are kept captive now in Gaza. And we were saved by miracle, but there are friends that we love that weren't, and that aren't. Thank you.
We are with them. It's not enough. We got to help them. Even when they don't ask, we have to be ready. I mean, this is family. Secretary Pompeo?
Harris, I was listening to that, and we had both grief and horror and love singing in the background. Tough, resilient people in Israel living in their rightful homeland, the Jewish people. The United States has a responsibility as an evangelical Christian. I know the importance of Jerusalem and that place. They're also great partners, and they're wonderful human beings. We have a responsibility to help them get this right. We'll do our part in the short run. I'm confident the Biden administration is now getting that piece right. But this is going to take a sustained effort. It's going to take a sustained effort over years. This threat is not going away. This is the hard work of deterrence. And when the Biden administration called the Crown Prince a pariah and refused to bring Prime Minister Netanyahu to the United States, those are signals to the bad actors in the world to do precisely the kind of horrors that we have seen over this last week. Those are connected. We have to get this right. We can absolutely do it. The American people will support government officials who do. And when we get it right, good things will happen all across the world, and we'll be more safe.
I have to let you go, but I have to ask this because you brought up Saudi Arabia and that 45-minute phone call that Saudi Arabia had with Iran. What do you make of that? That they are united in supporting the Palestinians. And I understand that because they're caught in the gap between fighting forces now and terrorists. So and they can't get out. But what do you make of 45 minutes? I wonder if our presidents had a conversation about that $6 billion that's that long.
I hope so. I hope that $6 billion never sees the light of day. I hope no more money goes to the Iranian regime. I hope they begin to enforce actual sanctions. As for the Gulf states, we've put them in a very difficult position because we negotiated with the Iranians for the first 2.5 years of this administration. We were cutting deals with them to allow them to have nuclear weapons. If you sit across the Strait of Hormuz or you sit in the region, you say, you know what, if the Americans aren't going to help us fight against the regime that wants to kill us too, I got to figure out a way to hedge. Look, I am very confident that the leaders in the Gulf states all want to normalize relationships with Israel. I'm certain of that. The timing, it was always uncertain, but we delivered 4 of them. They understand Israel is going to exist. In this moment, what I'm watching is what they do. We'll see statements. They're trying to find their way through this. What we should look for is the actions that each of these countries take. And I'm convinced that over time, these people that live in the region will see the Jewish people, the Israelis, they will come to see them as good friends, good partners, good business colleagues, in the same way that the Abraham Accords did. And so it will take a little time. We can get there, but it's going to take the United States demonstrating its commitment to Israel to help them find their way there.
God bless you for your optimism and your leadership.
Thank you,
Because we
Harris.
need that.
Bless
we
you.
need that. And those songs, the Hebrew songs that they were singing, we know that from every faith. We know what a hymnal sounds like as Christians.
Yes, ma'am, we do. You and I both do.
Amen. Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.